In Green Bay, the atmosphere feels like the build-up to a Super Bowl week, even though the calendar reads late November and early December, because every piece of news, every injury update, every roster designation carries the weight of a franchise trying to define its destiny. In the final stretch of the regular season, the Green Bay Packers stand at a critical crossroads in the 2025 campaign, a season that has been defined by bursts of brilliance, frustrating inconsistencies, and now an intense playoff race that is tightening with every passing week. The team sits at 8-3-1 after a meaningful and emotional Thanksgiving victory over the Detroit Lions, a win that not only preserved their hopes for a postseason berth, but also reminded everyone watching that this roster still has enough firepower, fight, and discipline to challenge anyone in the NFC. However, that victory did not come without its cost, and the toll it took reverberates across the landscape of the franchise. The Chicago Bears hold a narrow lead in the NFC North with their 9-3 record after defeating the Philadelphia Eagles on Black Friday. And this means the Packers cannot afford even a moment of regression or complacency. They are chasing a rival whose confidence continues to grow, and every remaining divisional matchup now has the energy of a playoff elimination game. Green Bay is being pushed into a corner where every adjustment, every decision, and every snap will shape the outcome of their season and potentially the future trajectory of the franchise. But the real blow came in the form of a significant and deeply painful injury to interior defensive lineman Devonte Wyatt, a player who had evolved into one of the foundational pieces of the Packers' defensive identity. Wyatt suffered a broken ankle that has now officially ended his season, and with that, the Packers lose not only his production, but also the commanding physical presence and disruptive energy he brings to the line of scrimmage. The loss forces the coaching staff to turn toward rookies Nazir Stackhouse and Warren Brinson, the players who showed promise, but now face the daunting responsibility of filling the void left by Wyatt. The expectations placed on them have instantly doubled, and Green Bay is now depending on their rapid growth if they intend to stabilize their interior defense for the final gauntlet of games. Yet, in the middle of adversity, the team received something that resembled hope, and it arrived in the form of 3 players designated to return from injury. These designations do not just fill space on a roster sheet. They represent optimism, possibility, and a rare opportunity to regain momentum at a moment when many teams around the league begin to break down under the physical and mental strain of a long season. The first of these returning players is Marshawn Lloyd, a third-round draft pick in 2024, who was drafted for his explosive acceleration, his open field danger, and his natural playmaking instincts. Lloyd missed almost all of his rookie year, battling multiple injuries, and then suffered yet another hamstring setback in training camp, which kept him off the field throughout the first months of the 2025 season. His return gives the offense an element of unpredictability, something that can tilt games when opponents least expect it. The second returning player is pass rusher Brenton Cox, a former undrafted free agent whose path to relevance has been anything but easy. Cox flashed potential in 2023, recording for sacks when given a rare extended role, but his opportunities have been limited by the depth of the Packers' edge group, and then abruptly cut short the season due to a groin injury suffered in Week 1. After months of rehabilitation, Cox has been cleared to return to action. His ability to win with speed, strength, and relentless motor could prove extremely valuable during the final 5 games, especially with 2 meetings against divisional rivals and 2 more against AFC heavyweights who can punish any lapse in defensive pressure. The third addition comes from Colin Oliver, the 2025 5th-round pick, who also lost the beginning of his NFL career to a training camp hamstring injury. Oliver has the physicality and versatility to help stabilize the defensive line, and with Wyatt ruled out for the year, his timing could not be more important. Green Bay does not have the luxury of easing young players into the lineup. Every returning contributor must be ready to step into meaningful roles immediately, because the team is now entering the portion of the season when every tackle, every mistake, and every explosive play can shift the postseason landscape. The road ahead is one of the most challenging closing schedules in the league, and that is not an exaggeration. The Packers must face the Chicago Bears twice, and every Packers fan understands that those games will be fueled by decades of rivalry and by the enormous playoff implications riding upon them. They must also face the Minnesota Vikings, another NFC North opponent fighting for the same limited postseason spots, and then confront the AFC powerhouses in the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens, both of whom lead their divisions. and both of whom possess the type of balanced and physical rosters that can expose weaknesses. Quickly, every challenge on the horizon requires resilience, discipline, and execution. The Packers have reached the point where they must rely not only on their stars, but on the full depth of their roster, the emotional and physical toughness needed to win in late-season football is unlike anything from the first half of the year. And this team now faces a defining moment that will either strengthen its legacy or highlight the work still required to return to championship relevance. The return of Lloyd Cox and Oliver does not magically erase the loss of Devonte Wyatt, but it gives Green Bay an avenue to rebuild balance and rediscover their rhythm as they prepare for the final surge. The question now becomes whether this sudden infusion of youth, energy, and untapped potential will be enough to steady the ship, or whether the loss of a defensive cornerstone will rip too deep a hole in the foundation the team has built this season. This final stretch will reveal everything. It will show who can rise, who can adjust, and who can carry the weight of expectation when the season hangs. In the balance, Green Bay has 5 games to answer these questions, 5 opportunities to show the league that they are not simply surviving, but aiming to compete with purpose and intention. Now the discussion turns to you, the viewer, and the dedicated fan who has followed every development, every setback, and every spark of hope. Do you believe these returning players can keep the Packers firmly in the playoff chase, or is the loss of Wyatt too significant for the defense to overcome? Share your thoughts, add your perspective, and join the conversation. And if you appreciate deep, extended, and serious NFL breakdowns, consider following the channel as we continue analyzing every twist and turn of this unforgettable season.